In 3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
Yeah,
we're back,
let's
baby.
Go.
We're back.
MMHC. MMHC.
Oh, man. Let's just jump into it, dude. I'm ready. We talked a lot before the episode. Let's do shout outs first. We don't even need a cool intro. We're into it. You guys are here. We're here. Spotify Wrapped came out today. Happy National Spotify Wrapped Day. I'm pretty happy with my music Wrapped and Rewind. That was pretty cool. Speaking of the Wrapped, we got our podcast one. A lot of cool information. The show continues to have some big increases just in the amount of listeners we have, people that download. That's been really cool. We saw really cool stats that I think it was for 1,000 of our fans. We are one of their top 10 podcasts. For about 500 to 600 of our fans, we're one of their top 5. And for 107 of our fans, we are their number 1 podcast, which is really cool. So thank you.
If you are one of those, if you're one of those 107, we love you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to the show.
Well, we love everybody, but the 107, you're like our favorite child.
Yes,
and everybody else
special.
is the second child.
Which brings us to our next point. If you do like the show, leave us a review. It helps us grow a ton. Share it with your friends. That's a great way for us to grow the show. Word of mouth is huge for us.
Yeah. Spotify, Apple Podcasts we talk about all the time. You can leave a review. You can leave a 5-star review with a comment, whatever you want to do. On Spotify, they have this cool thing where you can actually leave like a question or like a comment on each episode. And we got one recently on our last one with toxic masculinity. So I do want to share it. It's from one of our listeners, Denise. Denise said, they enjoyed the show, but they suggested the book, The Will to Change by Bell Hooks. It talks about masculinity and love and emotions. So for anyone that was interested in our last episode, that's a book you can read. I've added it to my want to read section of Goodreads. So really cool to be able to interact with our fans and our listeners, to gain knowledge, to know what kind of information you guys are interested in. We get messages a bunch that are just requests or suggestions for episodes, and one of our next episodes is going to be one of those. So this is cool. Justin and I talked before we recorded. It's just like, we just hit 4 years, to see where the show was, recording back then, to see where we're at now, with not just like physically with like the equipment we use now and how like seriously we take it, but too just like to see the virtualness of the fans and the listens. And I'm really grateful for it. We really appreciate all the listeners and all the people that tune in each couple of weeks. Honestly, I enjoy just talking to Justin every couple of weeks, but to make it for you all you guys listening, that's really cool too. On top of that too, I'm rambling a lot, Justin. Sorry. Our friend Benoit Kim, friend of the show, he was on our show. We were on his show. He posted about his Spotify Wrapped today. Amazing success over the last year. We're really happy for him. We feel really fortunate to have like him as a friend and someone that we can learn from and talk to. He actually shared that his most listened to episode this last year was the one that we were on. So that's really cool. We really appreciate it. Getting to be with Benoit, getting to record with him. We'll link his show in the show comments. It's the Discover More podcast. If you haven't checked it out yet, if you haven't checked out the episode we've been on, check it out. He always drops some cool knowledge, has some really great guests on, has really taken his show to the next level, and it's really cool to see.
I hope he doesn't tell all his guests that. Like, you were my number 1 guest, baby. You got the most downloads of anyone.
If he does, it worked on me. I'm pretty easy, so
it was flattering. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What are we doing? What are we driving into?
We're talking about Parasites, and I know that you guys are going to see the title of this episode and know what we're talking about, but it's gross. It's supposed to be a little gross. Parasites are gross. Eddie, do you have a story about parasites?
Zero. I told Justin, I literally have nothing to contribute today. All I have is just the will to learn, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff on here that I know nothing about. I've heard about. Justin has probably mentioned to me. But I really don't know anything. So I got no story. I'm just here to listen and obviously I'm going to participate, but I'm really here to listen.
Well, I got so many parasite stories. I have just been riddled with parasites my whole life. I've actually had a couple. I had ringworm which actually is a fungus. So I don't know if that's technically, it's a parasite. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, dude, you're the doctor. You tell me.
I know. I should know this. I really should. I'm going to go ahead and take a hard stance. It is a parasite.
Okay.
And I got it from wrestling. The mats hadn't been properly cleaned. So I had ringworm, and I also had bed bugs when I lived in Seattle. And although they were not living inside of me, I hated the fact that they were literally surviving and feeding off of my blood and the blood of my now wife. So, yeah, the bed bugs, I would have to say, were the absolute worst. And every once in a while, I still have nightmares about them.
Oh, make me shiver. I mean,
so we're talking...
okay. Do you want to give us like how parasites and mental health relate? Like, what do we talk to us?
Yes, that's going to be the whole episode of how parasites and mental health relate. Honestly, we were going to do a whole show on therapy, but Google Docs completely deleted our script. And so I figured, Google's kind of a parasite, so I'm going to do an episode on parasites. I know it's a loose association, but that's what we're going with.
Are we expecting the cease and desist letter to go to your house or my house? Because I don't know if I can handle that.
Well, I'll take it. I'll pay from our PayPal account if
Perfect.
we.
Okay, kind of related, kind of not related. Did I ever tell you when we first moved into our house over 3 years ago, there was apparently someone, not apparently, there was someone who used to live here at some point, and someone was trying to serve them. I don't know what they were trying to serve them, what kind of like legal documents, but they were trying to serve them. And one day I was home early, knock on the door, I go answer. The guy's like, "Hey, are you blah, blah, blah?" I was like, "No." I was like,
No.
"I think they used to live here. I get their mail sometimes. We just send it back, but I'm not sure who that is." He's like, "Yeah, I figured they weren't here. Like, I've been trying to track them for like a bunch of states." And I was like, "Oh, like, are you trying to serve them?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I noticed." And this was at the time that I had a loaner car because the dealership was working on my car. He's like, "Yeah, I noticed a different car in the driveway, so I thought, oh, maybe it was here, but it's different from your regular white car." I was like, "Damn, how long you been casing my house, dude?" So,
whoa.
Anyway, cease and desist. Someone getting served. That's my that's my tangential story for today.
You're used to it, yeah.
Yeah.
So what is a parasite? According to dictionary.com, a parasite that is an organism that lives in or on an organism of another species, its host, and benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense.
Bum, bum, bum.
So some stats and facts. I like to think of our bodies as like a cool little tide pool. We are host to over 10,000 different microbial species, a panoply of bacteria, viruses, and fungi that we call the microbiome. The more we learn about the microbiome, the more we find that it has ties to our mental health. But there are other types of organisms that can also impact mental health, and these are parasites and worms. There are 300 different species of worms that can live inside the human body.
Oh.
Pretty gross, huh?
Yeah, keep going. We just got to get through it.
We got to get through these stats and facts. There are also 70 different single-cell parasites that can be housed by our fleshy abodes. Researchers have found that in countries with higher parasite rates, there tends to be higher rates of depression. In fact, if you do have a parasite, you're 4 times more likely to have a mental health disorder. Now, there could be a lot of different factors in that, but interesting that more parasites, more mental health problems. We do not know the cause of most mental health problems, like what's actually going on in your body and brain. So even for depression, we don't know. Like, we know like some of the signs and what's going on in the body, but we don't know exactly why people feel so terrible in depression. We kind of hypothesize and theorize about it. One of the prevailing theories is that it's about inflammation. and specific inflammation in the brain at specific areas. So there is a theory that parasites lead to inflammation. Inflammation gets into the brain. Certain brain areas get inflamed. Mental health issues increase. Kind of interesting.
Huh. Is this like a correlation, causation type thing, or it's just all theorizing at this point?
This is mostly theoretical. There is an association, but we don't have a causation at this point. That is a lot of what we are talking about today is associations, not causations, because there's not a lot of studies out there where we're like, all right, let's give people a bunch of parasites and then check their mental health.
I hope not. That shit is not passing the IRB.
Exactly.
What does IRB stand for? Is it International Review Board, or am I making that up?
I think you're right. Yeah, International Review Board.
That's right. That's right, baby. I did some undergrad research at one point.
Bingo. So yes, for those who don't know, if you're doing any research project on human subjects, you have to get it approved by the IRB, and it's pretty stringent. It takes a while sometimes to get these things approved.
Yeah.
So you may be asking yourself, okay, parasites, blah, blah, blah. How common is this? Surprisingly, 12 million Americans get parasitic infections every year. So there's a total of 350 million Americans-ish. So a good amount of parasites every year in the U.S.
You want to know what the percentage is on that?
I was hoping you were calculating that. What's the percentage?
I did it. About 3.42, if we're going to round up, 3.43% of Americans every year.
That's basically everyone. So
if you have 100 people in a room, 3.4 of them have had a parasitic infection this year.
Yeah, pretty wild. So the first bug that we want to talk about is called Toxoplasma gondii. Freudian slip there. Yeah. So this is a protozoan parasite. So it's not a bacteria. It's not technically an animal. It's a protozoa. And according to the CDC, 11% of the U.S. population age 6 and older have been infected with toxo. Isn't that crazy?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That could be me and you.
That could be me and you, especially because you get toxo from cat poop.
Cat shit. Just sitting there.
Have you ever had a cat? Have you ever cleaned a litter box?
Never in my life.
Okay.
Have you?
I have. I used to have a cat and clean the litter box. So I may have been exposed to toxo. I may have it. I may be going crazy right now. You never know.
Yeah. I've lived with a cat, but I never cleaned the litter box. So.
Well, and they, pretty much walk on their poop in their litter box, and then they jump up on counters and get their little grubby paws on everything. So, yeah.
That's not good. Okay.
If you guys want to see something really funny, watch the YouTube video of this episode and see Eddie's face. It was a unique combo of shocked and disgusted.
And we just started the episode. All right. Hit me with the next fact. I don't even know what line we're on.
A large meta-analysis. So this is like a big study, lots of data from Despina G. Kontopoulos Ioannidis, MD. Don't worry, I practiced that name before the episode started. Showed that people who have been infected were more likely to develop symptoms of schizophrenia and psychosis. So another association, toxo infections and schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia is a heterogeneous disorder, which means it could have thousands of potential causes. We don't really know. I think in my experience, you hear all types of things. It's genetic. Someone has like a psychotic break. Someone has it induced by substance use. Like there's so many reasons that something could have schizophrenia can happen. So it's cat shit is apparently one of them. The data is interesting. We've talked about it. Justin's mentioned it. It shows an association, but not necessarily a causation. So do not take whatever we're saying today as saying cat shit equals schizophrenia. There's more steps in between. It doesn't just do that. Yes, what I'm saying. Anyway, we haven't done any randomized controlled trials on it, so we can't be sure. Other studies also should suggest that there's also a connection between toxo and bipolar mania, which sometimes people will mention like a manic episode or a manic break, or some type of like psychotic tendencies with mania, schizophrenia, bipolar, manic episodes, all kind of intertwined a little bit. I can see the word web in my head as I talk.
So yeah, pretty wild, pretty fascinating. Toxo. Yeah, if you want to look up any sources, we're going to put some of the sources that we used for today in our show notes. And yeah, Google Toxo. Toxoplasma gondii, a very interesting little bug.
Interesting. The next one is probably commonly known. According to Justin, it's Napoleon's little helper, which is syphilis. I'm sure you'll tell me why it's Napoleon's little helper at some point.
Yes, Napoleon had syphilis.
That makes sense.
At least it's been historically documented. Yeah. But if you don't know what syphilis is, it is a sexually transmitted infection that starts in the genitalia and can migrate into your nervous system and your brain. This is what we call tertiary syphilis. So primary is when it's just sitting in your genitals. Secondary is when it's in the surrounding area. And then tertiary is when it hits the brain and the central nervous system.
Yeah. Syphilis has been tied to mental health conditions like depression, mania, psychosis, personality changes, delirium, and dementia. Justin, what is delirium?
Delirium is a state of altered consciousness that is reversible. It's really common in the hospital. We see it all the time with people who have just gotten out of surgery, people who are really sick. It's like an acute dementia. So it's like a couple of days of you're really confused, you're really agitated, you don't know what's going on. That's delirium.
You ever heard that song from like the early 2000s? I think there's a remix with Soulja Boy in it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or is this just like
delirious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make me delirious. Like now that you mention what it is, that makes more sense. Wow.
Maybe Soulja Boy's just got syphilis.
See this is like the second like cease and desist possibility for today.
Soulja Boy is very litigious. He will sue at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, you do not want Soulja Boy at your door. He delivers the served paperwork himself. He does it.
So it's really important to treat syphilis early, because if you don't, then it can spread to your brain and give you some of those neurologic conditions. And you might be thinking, like, didn't we get rid of syphilis? Isn't that like an old disease? And you would be wrong, because syphilis is on the rise. There are 176 new cases in 2021 alone. So it's a pretty common sexually transmitted infection. And where I did residency in Omaha, Nebraska, I was told multiple times that Omaha is a major hotspot for syphilis.
Syphilis, capital of the world.
Yes.
You know, in anybody's defense that's listening, I never once, I think I can say confidently, I never once had the idea or the thought, syphilis is probably eradicated. So for anyone that wasn't, that didn't we eradicate it, I'm there with you. I have not thought about syphilis.
Perfect. And thanks for, validating our viewers and listeners here, Eddie.
I do what I can.
Next up, we have a neurologic condition for you, which is seizures. So seizures is an uncontrolled firing of neurons in the brain, which makes you do weird things like staring, jerking movements of your limbs, stiffening of the body, changes in your breathing patterns. And one of the most common causes of seizures, especially in the third world where parasites are more common, is a worm called Tinea solium. And this lovely little bugger creates little cysts in your brain that, again, YouTube, watch Eddie's face. It's great.
I'm like sweating. I mean, it's warm in the house, but this is like, I haven't stopped sweating. Okay, keep going.
This one is also from feces, but it's not cats this time. It's pigs. So anywhere that pigs are defecating freely, you're more likely to get this. And so, this isn't necessarily a mental health problem, but just another example of how parasites can get into your brain and change brain structure, function, anatomy. They can have pretty significant effects.
There's a neurological section in the DSM, I'm pretty sure. Is seizures not in there?
I don't think so.
We kind of look this up. I have an electronic copy of the DSM-5 text revised, so
it's probably also Googleable too. Yeah, seizures.
Any type of seizure
DSM.
disorder.
Oh, they have PNES, or psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. PNES.
That's right, baby.
So
That's
PNES
right.
is in the DSM-5, but not actual seizures.
Close enough for me.
Same. Potato.
Real quick, you mentioned staring as a possible issue with seizures.
Yes.
Did anyone ever confirm what happened to Mitch McConnell that day?
No, I don't think so. At
Those
least
2 days.
Yeah, it was 2 separate times.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, he totally froze. And it did kind of look like an absence seizure where you just you stare off, you're blank, and then you come back to and you don't remember what happened. But, of course, his whole publicist team said, doctor examined him and he's totally fine and nothing bad happened. Or at least that's what NPR told me.
Is it the same doctor that's going to clear Aaron Rodgers from his torn Achilles? Yeah. I got some questions about the medical professionals in this world.
Same doctor who said Trump had a completely clean bill of health.
Yeah, these motherfuckers be lying. Okay, let's keep it rolling.
Let's keep it rolling.
We're feeling some type of way today.
Random fun fact, because, we're talking about parasites. In researching this episode, I found that the longest recorded tapeworm, which is an intestinal parasite, sits in your intestines, was 108 feet long. A worm inside of your guts, over 100 feet long.
So where does that sit? Where do you
So your intestines are pretty long, and so it just snakes along throughout your intestines. Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember seeing an Animal Planet show or Discovery Channel show back in the day where they talk about tapeworms, and one person was on the toilet and had to call in their family member that cut it, and then it went back in, and then yeah, now I got your face you're all disgusted.
The idea of cutting a tapeworm and seeing it just stuck back in.
Yep.
Ugh, gross.
At least it was one of those dramatizations, right? It wasn't the real footage.
Was it one of those cheap cartoons? I love it when documentaries have cartoon reenactments and they always look terrible.
No, it was actors, but
okay, yeah.
You could. It was in the corner, right? It was it said not. It's reenactment. So.
Mm-hmm. I also remember reading in the past too that people in France back in the day, I don't remember what specific year, they used to intentionally give themselves tapeworms to lose weight. Women would do this to look as thin and attractive as possible. And then they would waste away. The price of beauty.
How do you get it out? It would just stay there, right?
Yeah, they didn't have good medications to eliminate those at that point in time. So, yeah, hard to get out. Mm-hmm.
All right. Next,
so on the flip side, on the flip side of things, some parasites may actually be good for health and mental health. So, I heard a story on NPR a while back and was fascinated by it. I found the story and I put it in our show notes as well too. So if you want to go listen to it, read it's on there. People have been using hookworms, which is a type of worm, helminth parasite, to treat inflammatory diseases. Kind of weird because sometimes they can increase inflammation, sometimes they can decrease them. So the theory is that hookworms have been evolving alongside humans for tens of thousands of years. To do this, they've had to find ways to alter our immune system so that we don't kill them when they're inside of our body. So those changes to the immune system could actually be useful. So people with autoimmune diseases where your body attacks itself, like Crohn's disease, asthma, and allergies, people with those diseases got hookworms and their diseases went away.
Huh.
Yeah, crazy. So this has sparked like a ton of research in this area to try and identify a specific mechanism as to how this is working, to see if pharmaceutical companies can try and market this and make billions of dollars off of it.
I was gonna say, don't get big pharma involved, and then you're over here like these greedy ass fuckers gonna see how much money they can make from this.
Instead of just giving people hookworms, they're like, "Ooh, we need to find a way to make this into a pill so we can make money."
Of course.
That's our lives at this point, Eddie. We're living in a capitalist world.
That's true. That's true. All right, so I know we usually try to have famous people and how they relate to our episodes. Justin's got some good ones for us today, so we're gonna hear it.
We already mentioned a little bit about Napoleon Bonaparte, who had syphilis. And it was hard to find a ton of information on what his actual symptoms were, other than he had some uveitis, where his eyes were really red and inflamed, because apparently they didn't keep good medical records back in the 1700s. But
they didn't use Epic?
They did not. They did not have computers, I believe.
That makes sense.
But
if you're a medical professional, Epic is like everywhere.
Yeah, Epic's the one.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, and boy, do I know. I've used a lot of Epic. But Napoleon was a French emperor. Ridley Scott just directed a new movie about Napoleon starring Joaquin Phoenix, if you all are interested. But yeah, Napoleon, syphilis, parasite. Surprisingly enough, I had a hard time finding celebrities who actually admit to having parasites.
I'm surprised it's just not readily available. I
know. I thought for sure Ariana Grande would be out here like, I'm riddled. I've got so many parasites.
If there's anyone who'd be open to sharing, it would be her.
It'd be the Grande,
Yeah.
One celebrity that did admit to having a parasite was Theo James. Do you know who Theo James is?
I'm trying to think of the nicest way to say this. No, I don't.
That's okay.
I think you know the answer to that.
Yeah, I wanted to at least give you the shot, give you the chance. Because sometimes you surprise me with the stuff that you know.
That's true. I know random. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, like you were just telling me about how much you love Doctor Strange, and I was like, I didn't think you watched movies.
You're right. That was I watched that movie.
So Theo James, super hunky actor from movies that you know, Eddie, like Divergent and the HBO TV show White Lotus, which he was excellent in that, by the way.
I did watch the first season of White Lotus.
He was on the second season.
Oh, God damn it.
I know. Just missed it.
We haven't seen season 2 yet.
Well, you will, and he's the handsome one.
Okay.
And he went on to Kelly Clarkson's show to tell his story. And he actually got a parasitic worm in his ankle while backpacking in sandals.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You gotta
Not
wear...
smart.
No. What? Why would you do that?
So the article said that he didn't even know what type of worm it was, But he also said that he could feel it coming out of his ankle and crawling up his leg when he was sleeping.
Oh, I gotta tape my pants like closed at the bottom now to sleep. That's terrible.
Pretty gross.
Holy shit.
I hope it tried to talk to him too. It'd be like, "Hey, I love you." Tapeworms are very affectionate creatures.
They are. Oh.
And our last celebrity, moving on. This one's really surprising because not a lot of celebrities want to talk about this, but Taylor Swift recently came out and said that she has a parasite. She picked it up in Kansas City when she was touring through. They call it Travitamus kelsey, and it's a big old parasite.
Big old parasite.
Technical term. Big old parasite. Bigger than her, actually. Couple Super Bowl rings, but definitely a parasite.
Yeah, he was whooping on the Raiders last week. All right.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry for your loss there, Eddie.
That's okay. It's fine.
Hey, what are your take-home points for today?
Do not play with cat poop. I don't. If it needed to be said, just don't play with it. Don't. I shouldn't say that. People like cats. Just wash the cat's feet, I guess. I don't know. What do you got for me?
I think it's interesting. We don't typically test for parasites in mental health. When people come in, we're not like, we got to test you for parasites. But overall, it's still probably pretty rare that parasites are actually causing, like, the vast majority of cases probably are not caused by parasites, but there could be some. There could be some that are caused by parasites and may benefit. So in the future, we might see a more broad spectrum testing for parasites just to see if that is a potential cause and a potential treatment.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Good to know. I mean, like I told you, and like I said at the beginning, I had zero knowledge, and now I feel like that's something else I can think about, and that's pretty cool. That's what we do here. We bring up stuff. We bring up random things. Now, at some point, you could be trying to like flex some knowledge on your friends, and you can say, "Hey, did you know parasites can do this?" And you learned it from us. Well, you learned it from Justin. I was just here for the ride, but
you're welcome.
Yeah, you are welcome.
Play us out, my man.
Justin, it's been fun, my friend. I'll see you in 2 weeks. To our listeners, thank you again. I know we spent a lot of time at the beginning saying thank you, but seriously, thank you. I mean, to start from zero, from the beginning to where we're at now, it's so much fun. I think we have a ton of fun doing this every couple weeks. So we're just really fortunate to have you all here supporting us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever app you use, feel free to leave us a review. Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a comment. Spotify, you can leave us a question, and we'll post it on the episode so other people can see it. Social media, at Millennial MHC, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. If you want to send us an email, millennialmhchannel@gmail.com. Thank you all so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We can never say it enough. And remember, take care of y'all mentals.